Welcome to the official Topic Talk. Please like, share and subscribe.
Audio Jungle.
Steve Clark, what's the crack, kid? What are you at?
How you doing, Ronan? You all right, buddy?
All right, mate. All right. Just this bit of a chill one today. You know what I mean? Just having a bit of crack. We're going to talk about a few things today, mate. We're going to talk about a bit about myself. People keep going on. People keep saying to me, "Oh, mate, who are you? Who are you? What are you about?"
Yeah, I mean, like last year, you just burst onto the scene. You burst onto the scene like last year, and then, I mean, we both got caught up in a bit of crap. I mean,
just a bit,
but no one's actually dived into yourself to see like where you're from and you know the lifestyle surrounding yourself. I mean, maybe that be something that you don't mind to.
Mate, I'm an open book to the point. I'm not going to give the internet my address. That's it. Ask me anything else. I'm just not going to give you where I live. I've actually moved house since the first time I've came on here. So, which I was actually in the process of moving anyway, and I've moved house. So it was
same as me. I had to move as well.
It's not that I had to move. It just to see the place that I was living in before was just a fucking dump. Do you know what I mean? It was an absolute shithole. But not that there was a shithole. There was good people living in the place. It was just it's where I was before. I knew all the faces. I wanted a fresh start. We'll get into a few of those stories. Like I know you want to hear a few crazy stories to do with Ireland and stuff. And mate, as I say, mate, see my teenage years, right? I can't really remember. Well, I can remember, but the shit. I don't even know how I'm still alive, Steve. I'm not joking. The amount of shit. Oh, mate, it was so bad. Like looking back at it now, right? I wouldn't want my son doing half the stuff with them. No hard drugs, no heroin or crack or any of that there shit. It was just the party lifestyle that I lived. And the boys, any boys from my area that see this here, they'll know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? I came from a place down Patrick, and back then, when I was growing up, you had a place called. You had a gang. It wasn't a gang. They were actually a nice sort of group of people called the Crows. The Crows, right? And I'm not going to mention any names because a lot of the boys are way off to Australia. But see, during the weekend, see Friday to Sunday, right? Used to be wiped out of their nut, and they used to go down the street and see instead of robbing people, they used to help old grannies with the shopping, and they used to while they're pissed out of their head, there was no badness in it. And but they were mad into the drugs, mate. It was the first. I was about 13, 14, and I remember walking up the road, and there was a fella that I knew really, really well, and he had a load of ecstasy pills in there, and he was just he must have had about 10, 15, and these really strong ecstasy pills, and he was just spinning around in circles, and I never forget because this was before I actually tried ecstasy. And I remember looking at him going, "Mate, are you all right?" And he was just, his head was gone. He was just fucked in the head. But I would wake up the next morning and he's down the street helping old ladies with shopping and doing people's gardens. And they were actually a great bunch of lads. But the drugs, mate, the drugs
take a lot of people and change a lot of people.
But they weren't hard drugs. It wasn't like heroin or crack. There was never any of that. I never witnessed any heroin or crack. It was just ecstasy, dope, hash, brown.
Is that the one that gives you like a sensation of love? Is it the ecstasy?
Ecstasy, man. I'll get into that. There, but I'll get into it. The thing about it is, I don't regret those nights because they were good nights, and if everybody had that feeling of ecstasy, there's nothing wrong with ecstasy. But whenever you abuse something, that's whenever it gets bad. And there was a moment in my life where I had to stop that because if it didn't, I was going to ruin my whole life. And I could see where my mates were going. They were getting into cocaine, and I wasn't. The cocaine for me, I remember drinking one night and somebody says to me, "Here, take some of this powder." And I took a bit and it sobered me up. And I was like, why am I even taking this shit? Do you know what I mean? I've just spent 50 quid on drink to get pissed out of my head. And you've given me something here and it sobered me up. That's the biggest load of piss I've ever seen in my life. And I know boys will be, "Oh, there's this here and there's this here." I was like, no, I have to get out of this because this is where addictions are coming in now. But here's one for you, Steve, right? I seen a guy one night chew his bottom lip off. on ecstasy. His whole bottom lip gone, like something from The Walking Dead.
At the bottom lip. Wow.
He had his bottom lip. He was out, and I'm not going to say his name. This part was still here, the front part, but see the innards was gone, and there was blood pissing out of his mouth, right? And I was walking up the road, and I was fucked myself. I'm not going to lie to you, like. And I seen him lying in the ditch, and I went over and I goes, "Mate, you all right? Do you want a hand?" Because back in the day, there would be hundreds of people that you know, and you're running about like a little dick. But everybody looked out for each other. And I'll get into that too, because there was another guy that actually, I'll never forget him because he actually gave me good advice. But anyway, I seen this guy, and I went over to him, and he was lying in the ditch, and the whole inside of his lip was gone, blood pissing out of his lip. And I lifted him up, and there was blood all over me, right? But this is what it was like back in the day, right? The cops drove by us, stopped, looked at us, goes, "What's your name?" I says, "Ronan." Because I says I was Ronan, and they seen the guy with blood pissing out of his lip, they could have rang an ambulance straight away for us. Like, they drove on because I was a nationalist. You see, I'm an Irish nationalist, and a lot of people don't want to admit that. Now, they're not. To me, that's wrong. To me, okay, the fella done it to himself, but there's no difference between a nationalist and a unionist. We're fucking human beings at the end of the day, and that's the divide in Ireland. That's the divide in the north of Ireland. So, you know, you get a lot of boys in here talking shit about me, but nobody knows who the fuck I am. Do you know what I mean? I am who I am. I'm a proud nationalist. I have family in the south of Ireland. I have family from the north of Ireland who fought for their country. I have family that lives in Australia. I have family that emigrated to America. Do you know what I mean? So nobody can tell me who the fuck I am. I know who I am, Steve, and that's it. And I listen, at the end of the day, Steve, people need to realize this. I don't respond to glue bags. It's as simple as that. I don't respond to them because I never did. I've been known for it. I've been known to keep a cool head. Do you know what I mean? I don't respond to glue bags, and that's the fucking bottom line. But mate, the stories, right? I grew up, right? I was really, really lucky to have such good grandparents and a good mum and dad. Now my dad, he's a dub. Do you know what I mean? He's a dub. He loves his beer. Do you know what I mean? But he done his best for me, right?
Yeah.
He done his best for me. I'm never going to take that away from him. The guy done his best for me. He had a lot of issues himself, but essentially he tried his best. He was a dub. He was a city guy that moved up into the country, into these wee small towns that were crazy. He tried to get on. He maybe couldn't fit in. Do you know what I mean? And he maybe always missed Dublin. Looking back at it now, he always maybe missed his hometown.
So you've always had a good family upbringing then, basically, from...
I did. Well, listen, no life's perfect. I had a lot of problems. I don't want to be talking about those problems. There was a few issues with myself, you know, growing up. I'm a bit different from my brothers. I've always been a bit different. I don't know if I'm on the spectrum. I'm not diagnosing myself, but I'm definitely different from a lot of people. But I'm not that I'm stupid. I just think different. I see things out of the box. I've always kept myself right. When I get feelings of people, I'm normally bang on. And it takes a notorious narcissistic sociopath like Dickie Hickey to sort of dupe me.
I think I could put you equal to Karma in that category then, I think, because he if he looks at a subject, he has to go in depth into that subject. If you take his humour side away, I think you're very close to Karma, because if he's looking at a subject, he has to go right down deep and get to the truth by thinking outside the box. So I think you and Karma could be alike in one way, shape, or form.
I'll take that as a compliment, mate, because at the end of the day, karma is who karma is. We're different people, but I get what you're saying. When it comes to a certain subject, I will dive into it, and I do get obsessed. I don't know if it's ADD, ADHD. I don't know if there should be a label to it.
Anyone with ADHD, I'll put with a high intelligence.
Yeah. I'm not high intelligent. I'm a dummy, mate. I'm an absolute dummy, mate. I'm not intelligent that way. I'm intelligent other ways. I'm everything I know. I taught myself right up to pre-algebra. It's all self-taught. All my brothers went to university. They've got big high jobs in New York. One of them's a movie director for Paramount Pictures. Me, I could never sit in an academic classroom and learn from a teacher. I'm all self-taught. Everything that from my mathematics to my English to everything that I know in my life is all self-taught, and that's the way it has to be. And, as a kid, mate, I wrote a lot of poetry and everything as a kid. It was just so different. I was, from the age of, as soon as I learned how to write, I was writing and writing and writing. And I loved poetry. I loved reading. I loved stories. And it's just who I am. I love anything that's creative and different. Couldn't draw a stick, man. I'm not artistic, but I love, I just love the words, and I love listening to people, and I love listening to good inspirational stories, and that's essentially who I am. But mate, it did take a wee bit of a turn for the worst in my teens, when the ecstasy scene came in, and my mates got into it. And it was good at the start, mate. The love, the feeling, I can't describe it to you. The feeling of ecstasy. If me and you took the love drug, as I call it, right? Don't want to promote it too much. I'm not promoting any of this because it's really, it will ruin your life if you don't get a hold of it. And me and you take the love drug. It doesn't. You could be sitting in a room with the think of the person that you hate, and that all goes away, and that person is spectacular. You get the big rush up your back. Your endorphins are just smashing in your head, and you just want to dance and dance and dance. And that's what I've done. I've done that for 2 years, and it was good for 2 years, working flat out on the building sites, really physically strong, and I was living for the weekend. But then my mates got involved with some heavy characters here in the north, some heavy dudes, do you know what I mean? And I didn't like him. I said, dear guy, I was working with one of the guys at the time, and I says, look, mate, I don't like you. Like, just stay the fuck away from me. Like, and I was in a bar one night, and they knew I didn't like them because I would never roll with dickheads. But because they were supplying so much gear, I was just, my mates all loved them, but I says, look, just stay the fuck away from me, right? I don't want nothing to do with you. He came up to me and he says, one of the guys says to me, you owe me 30 quid. This is where it started to go bad. You owe me 30 quid for something. And I says, I've never got anything off you in my life. I've never took anything off you in my life. Go fuck yourself. And essentially a big bar fight broke out, and I got a death threat, and I goes, no, fuck him. These are my streets. These cunts aren't going to tell me who I am. But it was a legitimate death threat, mate. It was a legitimate death threat to my life at the time. When I was only a young lad, I can't even remember what age it was. I was still late teens, but it was essentially then that I went, I have to get out of this here. I even have to stop rolling with my mates because these guys are getting into debt. Like, my mate took out 500 quid's worth of weed or something, and he couldn't pay it back because he smoked it all. And that debt went up to 4K, do you know what I mean? And he was coming to me as if, I was like, mate, you done this to yourself. If you get your legs broke, you've got nothing, you've got nobody to blame but yourself. Like, do you want me to go in there and back you up when you've done this to yourself? And I get my legs broken, you get your legs broke, I goes, go on the run, mate. Do you know what I mean? It's nothing to do with me, like. Essentially that all fizzled off. But I always stood my ground, mate. I was never one. There was only one time I was helpless. And if this guy's ever watching this, I have to apologise to him, Steve. It's a guy called Leroy, and he's from a place called Ballygowan in my area of the north here. And I went to tech with this guy, and I asked this guy to come to a house party with me, right? And he went in and he was speaking to some girl. And I'm not going to disrespect the lady, right? I'm not going to disrespect her, right? But she had a lot to do with this, right? And her boyfriend came in. Leroy was only speaking to her. He never even touched her. Leroy was never the type of guy to go around. He was a good looking guy, and he could have got any woman. Yeah. And next minute I was up. I was speaking to some other girl upstairs, right? I was upstairs, right? And I heard screaming, so I went, fuck this here, t-shirt on. I ran downstairs, boom. He's lying on the ground. Your boy's booting the teeth out of his mouth, kicking him, booting him in the face. And I go to jump, and 3 boys grab me and make me watch as he gets a fucking hiding. And the only time I could get loose, and they were only letting me go back. They were never letting me go forward. And I knew these guys were tooled up. I knew they were tooled up. But I didn't give a fuck because there's an innocent man on the ground getting a beating here. I'll never forget, right? They didn't boot his teeth out, I thought, but they were kicking him in the face, and he had that big swollen eyes, and your guy came down with steel toe cap boots on. And the girl I was with at the time, she looked at me, and I never seen a more look of disappointment in my life. Like, you let this happen, you brought this guy here, and there's physically nothing I could do apart from both of us getting stabbed up. And he says, look, mate, it's all right, it's fine, it happened, it wasn't your fault. But he left that night, and I never seen him again, and we never got in contact again. And ever since then, I said to myself, I had, like, that was, for me, that broke me so hard. I was like I was this close from going on a rampage. I was this close from losing my head. Do you know what I mean? And going, why the fuck would they do that to an innocent fella? Like, you've done that to an innocent fella, but it didn't. Spoke to a few people, spoke to my dad, and I spoke to a few friends, and they were like, look, mate, it's not worth it. Like, good friends said, look, mate, it's not worth it. You were upstairs. You can leave somebody alone in a party. Like, you're not expecting that. It wasn't full of scumbags, and these boys come down and do that to him. That's a one in a million chance that would even happen. Like, but it was those moments that I had to get out of it. But mate, some of the parties that we went to were absolutely. If you want to hear a story about one of these parties, mate, so I went to this is the North of Ireland party scene, right? There's no phones, it's just word of mouth. Well, there might have been phones about, but it wasn't like nobody was glued to their phone. There was no like camera phones, right? Everybody shows up at a house. 5 people start out the house party. See, by 11 o'clock, there's 110 people in that house. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody, right? My mate shows up. I'm going to call him G, because he's a fucking glue bag. And if he's ever watching this here, mate, you're a fucking glue bag. You know who you are. Biggest glue bag.
Glue bag.
Right. And he's whopped off his nut on everything. Ease, speed, everything. His mum's Diazzi's, everything. Vodka, glue, literally glue. You would sniff glue, this guy, right? That's why he's a glue bag, right?
Yeah.
Banging party, right? 10 out of 10 women everywhere you look, right? Everybody being respectful to women. None of this shit that you see online where people are getting raped left, right, and centre. Everybody being respectful as fuck. Nobody's hurting any women in this house. I went, this house is worth, I would say, 500k. Okay. And on the inside, it's fucking minted out. You want to see this bathroom, right? It had a sink the size of a bed. You could have bathed in this thing, right? We're in there, right? He's whipping out bags of E's, bags of fucking all mad shit. He takes everything at once, puts it into a wee shot glass, and downs it. Right? Grabs the sink, rips it out of the wall. This is an 8 stone man. Rips it out of the wall, right? What am I now? I'm 14 stone now. I'm 6 foot, 14 stone. Back then I was about 11 stone, just under 6 foot. This is an 8 stone man. Rips it out of the wall. Fucking clear, right? And water pissing out everywhere. Everywhere. The fellow who owned the house, his brother, was one of the first MMA guys that I've ever. This guy was a killer. A killer. He was going to snap my neck. I'm in charge of these fucks. I'm in charge of looking after his brother. Right? Sound blokes. I go and I goes, mate, he's ripping out your bathroom there, right? He's doing a bit of tiling work on your bathroom here, like. Comes in, water everywhere. Him lying on the ground, water everywhere. He's whopped out of his nut, chewing the bake of himself, right? And we'll go in, and everybody just sees the bathroom being wrecked, so they start wrecking the place. It was like Woodstock '99, but right? Start wrecking the place. TVs. The only place they didn't wreck was the living room, because I had a lock on the door. I think maybe I'm wrong about that, but they didn't wreck the living room. The kitchen getting ripped out. Upstairs, they had a loft getting ripped out. The whole place was I would say about 25 people trashed that house, right? I'm sitting there. I'm sitting in the mess. I'm going, what I do? I'm dead. I'm dead. The guy's going to kill me because I know the family. They're going to kill me. But I'm sobered up by this stage.
Mm.
The brother comes back, right? The brother comes back, looks at me. He doesn't give a fuck about the house, but he has records that are worth a pretty penny. Records of the Beatles or something, or Nirvana or some shit, right?
Mm.
And they're smashed to pieces. And he says to me, and there's cocaine lying all over them, by the way. There are people who are using sniff cocaine off them, like, right? He looks at me and he goes, Ronan, did you do this? And he says, no, mate, I didn't do this. And he says, I don't believe you. And he goes, mate, I'm sober as a judge. I try to stop this. He goes, where's my little brother? And I looked up and I goes, he's over in that corner. He's fucked. He's passed out. he's gone, right? He's gone, right? I didn't have to stay in the house. I should have left, but I didn't. I had to, somebody needed to be there. Do you know what I mean? Just in case I got robbed, like they came in and started robbing money out of the fucking rooms. And he just beat the fuck out of him. And then you're talking about, this is an MMA guy that's beating the fuck out of his 16-year-old brother, and he done him like boom, boom, just the hip and everything straight into the sides. And I thought to myself, you deserve it, you little cunt. You let these fucks in. You made me sort of mediate the place. I couldn't have a good time. There's women lying about everywhere. Every corner, there's women lying about everywhere. There's men lying about everywhere. There's people riding up the fucking stairway. You're going up the stairway. As the brothers coming in, there's people on the other set of stairs fucking doing whatever they're doing. It was a fucking mad. It was a mad house. But that was the height of it, mate. That was, and see, after that, you think, I just go home. Just go home. This is at 3 o'clock in the morning. Fuck apart. That's when the party started for me, mate. See, I was a 3 o'clock in the morning guy. I got a taxi to Belfast, and I went to the Falls Road, and I met up with a few friends, and we had a fucking cracking night. And that's another story. That's another story, because
I was thinking the nightlife down there then is probably better than what's down here.
Oh man, listen, I can't describe it. They were the party days. Like, they were the people were just beautiful people. The people of Belfast are beautiful people. I don't care what anybody says. People say this, say that about them. I know people have had a lot of bad experiences, but if you are with the right people, you're going to have a good night, and none of that shit's going to happen to you. And the stories I have.
I mean, I know the people from Dublin. I mean, they're really decent, like, gentlemen. I mean, I'd never ventured up as far as Northern Ireland, but I've been out as far as just outside Dublin to a town called Lucan.
Dublin's
and the people out there, they're so helpful, probably better than some of the people over here. You know, they're friendly as well and welcoming. And when they have a drink, I mean, they have a drink and have a laugh.
Yeah.
Over here, they have a drink and get tanked up and just want to fight.
But listen, that's what we're all like, right? Look, I was like that. I can't call an Englishman bad for that, because I was like that. Everybody was like that. I pride myself of never getting my nose broken. I pride myself on that. I've always been an elusive little bastard. Like,
I've only ever had one black eye in the whole of my life.
I've had, man, I took a doing one night. Like, I took a doing outside a police station. Do you want me to talk about the divide?
Yeah.
Do you want to hear about the divide?
Yeah.
So this is the divide wrapped up in a nutshell, right? I come out of a bar, right? And it's I'm not actually going to say the name of this bar, but it's in the place I used to grow up. Come out of the bar, my mate says to me, look, because I was trustworthy, my mate says to me, can you walk my sister up the road home? I says, not a problem, mate. This guy, I would consider to this day one of the best fighters I've ever seen. See all these dicks on YouTube that say they're going to do this and they're going to do it. This guy wiped the floor with them. 100%. Easy. One hand tied behind their back. But he wasn't a fighter. He hated fighting. He was a lover. Right? And I was walking up the road, and I think it was our ex-fella. seen me walking up the road with her. And he didn't know who I was. And he was coked off his nut. And I'll never, this is outside a police, I was walking by a police station, there's cameras everywhere, right? And I felt a tap on my back and I turned around, right? And to this day, I heard a smash. And people say to me, it wasn't a glass bottle, but I heard a smash. And the people that told me this were friends with him. And I don't think they wanted me to know that I got cracked with a bottle. But anyway, we'll just say he happy slapped me, right? Got me a cracker, right? Turned around, boom, right round the back and just hit me, right? I go like this here, right? I go out for 2 seconds, right? But I grab him and I pull him to the ground. And as I pull him to the ground, his head hits the ground, right? She's screaming. Look up. There's 2 or 3 boys piled on top of me. I'm just waiting for the knife to go into my side, right? Mm. Look up. Some wee wanker runs across the road, boots me clean in the face, while my hands are behind my back, being fucking punched left, right, and center. He boots me in the face. I don't go out this time because he kicked me here, but he didn't break my nose. Pride myself on that. And I'm in a daze, and I wake up, and I've got this cunt. Right? And I look up and the camera of the police station is flashing red. See, when it flashes red, those fuckers are watching you, right? These cunts are putting on bets if I get stabbed or not, right? This is because I'm a nationalist. I've just came out of a nationalist bar there, you know that, because the camera's fucking pointing straight down looking at it, right? And they fucking know, right? And not one of those cunts came out to save my life, Steve. And that's the police. That's the. Let me just reiterate that for everybody. That's the PSNI of the north of Ireland, Northern Ireland. So they didn't give a fuck about me. So see, from that moment on, I didn't give a fuck about them, and we'll just leave it at that.
Well, why do you think they didn't come out and get involved? Do you think they were too scared, or do you think it's just
because they wanted me to die, Steve? I was a nationalist. I was an Irish nationalist Catholic in the north of Ireland. 2 weeks before, I was walking down the street. Cop car pulls up, unmarked. Mate, can you pour the drink out? Yeah, no sweat, no problem, officer. All right, no problem. Where are you from? What's your name? Ronan. Are you supposed to be around here? Where are you from? And I knew what he was trying to do. I says, I'm from Dublin, mate, which is true. I was born in Dublin, the Rotunda Hotel, or the Rotunda Hospital. Why don't you get back there then? I goes, nah, mate, this is where I live. This is Ireland. Speeds, and then just speeds off like a fucking joyrider. So the PSNI are just another gang, mate. Now it's changed.
So they're basically discriminating then, in other words, against people from one side to the other. They're discriminating. That's bad. That is.
No. Listen, and let me say this too. A lot of people in the unionist side have had to deal with that because the police didn't give a fuck about them. Right now, I never wanted the police to give a fuck about me. I can look after myself. Over here, when something happens, you don't ring the police, mate. Mm. You don't ring the police because if you ring the police,
yourself.
Not in a hard man way. Not in a hard man way.
If you was to involve the police, how would people have a reception towards you for doing that?
Ostracization. I know people. I know friends that have rang the police and certain. Not if you're robbed. Not if you need them. If you're a law-abiding citizen that lives in a society, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're robbed, listen, fair play. If you're mugged or something. But I know a lot of there's a lot of boys I just wipe my hands clean with because I know anything I say to them in regards to certain situations that's happened in the past, that's going to be filtered back straight back to God knows. And they might not, but because they're known for it, that's it. They're ostracized from my life, and I want absolutely nothing to do with them. And let me tell you something, that's not just with the nationalist community, mate, that's also with the unionist community. People get it twisted. I have more in common with a working class loyalist than I do an upper class nationalist, mate, because there's a lot of people in the north of Ireland, doesn't matter if you're nationalist or unionist, that don't have a fucking clue anything to do with the north of Ireland. Now, I'm not sure. They live at a completely different. It's like higher class London. That's how wealthy they are. And if you spoke to them about this shit, they wouldn't have a clue. I'm just happy I experienced what I experienced. My brothers, they went a different way. But I experienced what I experienced. I'm glad I experienced that. It's made me more streetwise. I know.
I was going to say, it's made you what the person you are today. You know, it has. It's defined you as an individual. And I do believe that sometimes you have to go through these sort of, you've got to experience these sides of life to make you unique from everybody else.
It's so different, mate. It's so different. I've been to England. I've been to all over, mate. England, Scotland, London, Dublin, all over. There's not a place on the planet like the north of Ireland. I'm telling you now, there's not a place. You ask any of the boys from Armagh, right? And there's a lot of people going to be watching this now that are from Armagh, and they're going to go, fuck me, just talking, Ronan. And I am going to stop talking because Armagh is a complete bandit country. Armagh is one of the most beautiful places on planet Earth. But you don't fuck with people from Armagh.
No.
You don't fuck with people from Armagh. Armagh people aren't on YouTube. I witnessed it. I've seen it. I remember I went, I'm not going to name any names, but I went to a house party in Armagh once, years ago. And I just went in. I just walked in, and there's a guy sitting there, bollock naked, with a Glock sitting on his chest with bullets just lying on down him. And he goes to me. I'm not going to say his name. I know who he is. He probably never watches. Like, if he does, you're a mad bastard, and he's all right. Like, and he goes to me. He lifts a 9-bar, and he throws a 9-bar over to me and a packet of skins. And he goes, "Skin up there, kid." I wasn't a kid. I was only fucking 18. Like, and he goes, skin up there, kid. And he goes, "Mate, like, what the fuck's going on here? Am I all right here?" Like, and he goes, "You're sweet, you're sweet, you're sweet. Don't worry about it." And he loads this thing, like, and takes off the safety, like, and he's just swinging this thing about. And I'm trying to skin up. And he goes, "You're right there, kid." And he was winding me up, like, he goes, "You're right there, kid. You're getting a wee bit, not kid, they speak a bit different. They're like, you know, you're right there, lad. You're right there, lad." I goes, "I mate, yes, I'm fine." He was skin that up. I'm not sure. See the amount of hot rocks and that thing, because I couldn't even burn it in.
Oh, man, they used to be back in the day. I had so many T-shirts that was ruined by them hot rocks.
This is the boys from Armagh. I've never met people like Armagh people because they are game. I had one fella, right? Die hard friend, would die for me, right? And I die for him, right? And he says to me, I never forget this, right? He would have a conversation about poetry with you. And in the same sentence, he's loading an AK-47 ready to fucking cut some motherfucker down that's just done something bad for you. You're like, complete chalk and cheese. There's no in between. I'm ready to rumble, or we're going to sit and we're going to have a few whiskeys tonight and watch fucking the Sunday service mass on TV. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, the people will know people from Armagh. Big up the people from Armagh. These are good, and they're good. The thing about it is they're good, decent, hard-working people off the north of Ireland, like all over Tyrone, everywhere. County Down, where I'm from, like, do you know what I mean? I've you know, I'm from all over, mate. You know, and mate, this is the thing. I've got friends in all aspects of life, Steve. All aspects of life. I have one of my good friends, I'm not going to say his name, moved to an area that I lived that was a nationalist area, right? And I goes, "Mate, why are you here?" Because we used to have banter with each other, right? Mm. He used to come around Christmas time, and he used to put on his Rangers top or something, and he used to start talking about, "Oh, let's go to mass." You know, it's coming Christmas, like, right? I go, "Fuck off, you cunt!" I can't even say the names of each other, right? It was pure sectarian, the shit. But it was between me and him. And I asked him one night, we were fucked off our head one night, and he goes, "Why are you here, mate?" And he goes, My dad saved a Catholic from being shot, and because he saved a Catholic from being shot, he got a bullet put through his window. So we had to move here where it was safe." And I went, "Fuck, mate, that's like, you know, fair play to you, like, fair play to you." And he goes, "Well, this is what it is, mate. We don't get bogged down into religion. I know he says, I know me and you have a bit of banter, a bit of crack, but that's not what it is for me. For me, it's about friendship, it's about love, it's about having respect, and that's the reality of it. That's the dirty war, mate. I'm speaking to a lot of people that have been through some horrendous shit. I'm going to big up somebody that's in my chat, Stephen Ross. He's been through a lot. I've spoke to Stephen Ross.
Is he from your neck of the woods? Is he over there in Northern Ireland? That Stephen Ross.
Stephen Ross has been.
He's a bit of a good guy, actually. I've seen him in your chat plenty of times.
Me and Stephen don't agree on a lot of stuff. We don't agree on the whole Dickie Hickey situation, right? But we don't give a fuck about that. But Stephen Ross has been through a lot. He's been through some terrible things in the north of Ireland here, and for him to get out, I know he's going through a bit of a bad time at the minute, so big up Stephen. And I'm going to speak about Stephen because he is in the chat. I know a load of people like that that have had stories. And speaking, and people always ask me this question, Steve, why don't I do content from people in the north of Ireland? I'm speaking to 15 people right now that have been in bombs. I was in a bomb scare. I can tell you the whole thing about that. I was in a bomb scare. And PTSD is real, and I'm not going to rush those people to come on the screen, and I'll never do that. For me, it's not about the views, it's about the story, and it's about integrity and morals and actually doing justice for these people. And they're from all necks of the woods, unionist and nationalist, and I respect every single one of them.
I mean, he sounds definitely there's a big divide over there by the sounds of what you've just told us. It's crazy how you can go to protect somebody, you know, and then the next thing you have your windows shut out for helping that person.
That's it, mate. Listen, I was in a bomb scare. Was in my ex-girlfriend's house, and big up to her, big up to everybody, big up, you know, everybody that I've ever been with in my life or friendship, big up to them all because they're all beautiful people. And I was in my girlfriend's house, and there was a device left outside our house, and the armor truck pulled up, bang, straight through the door. I'm sitting in my boxers upstairs. I get up. What the fuck's going on? What's going on? Right? Everybody needs to get the fuck out of the house, right? So we get up, we're on downstairs. There's 3 cops. I straight away I think these boys. I say to my missus, I say, these aren't cops. These aren't cops. Because I can't tell you about the circumstances, but I know where we were living was very, very Republican. Very Republican. And I thought they got the house mixed up because the people that will live next door to. And I says, mate, we're not number such and such. He says, what do you mean? I says, we're not number such and such. And I said who I was, and he goes, I don't give a fuck. Cop says to me, I don't give a fuck who you are. Get the fuck in the back of the van. And I goes, and then I realised, they actually, because people can dress up as cops, go for somebody, and they won't even be looked at because they think it's a cop. And anyway, we got in anyway, and as I looked out, I seen a robot pick up a packet of cigarettes, and they drove us about 200 meters to the top of the road. And I'm looking, I'm still in my boxers, like. No, sorry, I had tracksuit bottoms on, had no top on. It was a skinny wee cunt back then, it was ripped, you know what I mean? And I was sitting there and was watching. And it turned out that somebody had rang up the local ASDA and said that there was a device sitting outside a certain house. And it wasn't our house, it was another house. I got the house right. But it was it wasn't real, it was a hoax, and it was a warning. And that's what can happen. And that's in a random town in the north of Ireland. That's a random town. So I can't speak about certain things. I can't say names, and I won't be saying any names, but it's essentially it's fucking mental, mate. And that's one thing on that, because
it's cracking out of the country so lovely, and the people within that country are gentlemen. But yet there's such a big divide.
And it's an unnecessary divide, Steve.
That's crazy to think.
It's an unnecessary divide, Steve. You have to understand it's an unnecessary divide. It's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy. And what's happened, what the north of Ireland was being used by, and I don't want to bring politics into it. I don't want to say, it was the British government. What Thatcher done. What Thatcher done to the north of England too, mate, was disgusting. What Thatcher done in that era was disgusting, all of them. And it was used, mate. It was used as a political playground. And I get very.
I mean, that's disgusting to think what one person in our government's done to bring that divide over there. I mean, that's
the propaganda war.
That's stupid and wrong. That is. I mean, if, like you say, if it weren't for manufacturers to produce that, do you think that divide would be there?
Right, it was propaganda, Steve. So whenever people were fighting for their country over here in Ireland, right? Because there was an uprising, right? The 1968 civil rights movement in the north of Ireland. The British government didn't want any of that to be televised in their own country, right? So what they done was they cut all communications, because they could do that back then. There was no internet, there was none of this here. They cut all communications of that and just pumped loads of stuff into the press about the Irishman being, brutal. It read above bars in the north in England, no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. That was said about Irish people and black people, and do you know what I mean? So it was absolutely disgusting. That's a fact, and it was propaganda. But the reality of it was, there was people, and this isn't people had to do their job, but a lot of people went. The people that just done their job, the British soldiers that just done their job, that's fine. But there was brutality amongst ripping out innocent people out of their homes at 4 o'clock in the morning, giving them beatings.
Wasn't there an incident where the British soldiers over there, they shot somebody and it wasn't called for whatsoever?
So what you're talking about was an incident that happened in Derry. And that was the most famous one, and I'll actually do an individual one. I don't want, because the thing about it is that is such a sensitive topic, right? And there's so many people involved in that. But essentially what happened is the British Army just opened fire on innocent people, on protesters, mate. And they gunned down a load of them, and it was disgusting. But I don't even want to speak about that just yet. I'll come on a different time and speak about that, because I really
save that for another day. I mean,
I really want to watch my P's and Q's with that one, because I wouldn't want to I wouldn't want to speak about it in an unjust way. Do you know what I mean? I know a lot about it, but I wouldn't want to speak about it in an unjust way. But that happened all over, mate. Now, is that to say that the paramilitary groups weren't killing innocent people? Both loyalist and Republican? Of course they were. But what was the need of brutalising innocent people? What was the need for that? What was the need for the propaganda? Because why were the British government so afraid of this correct information being fed to the British public? Was because
maybe the British government should have just stayed out of it.
Well, I have my theories.
Maybe.
I have my theories, and one of my theories is that people don't realise this. The north of Ireland is essentially used as a massive weapons facility for the British, and a lot of weapons that are kept and made are made in the north of Ireland for Britain. And for instance, if mainland England is attacked, then at least their weapons facility is off that shore. Or if an enemy is going to attack a place, they'll attack the north of Ireland, they'll attack Scotland and things like that. Do you know what I mean? So I think personally myself, that's why I think it's valuable for many other reasons, but it's also very valuable to them. Land is very valuable to them because it's close to them, and they can hold a lot of stuff here. And there's a lot of people in this country that done a lot of dirty work for the British government, mate. A lot of dirty work that people will never realise.